Well, unlike with others, we please. We're slightly improvising with you.
Where is that then published? Just
so we run a magazine called The Black Cube, and The Black Cube is a publication editorial platform that explores moving images through the lens of technology. And one of the things we're doing with Civa is we're creating a publication called Dialogues in the Intersection of Quantum and Cinema. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is to kind of think about topics like alternative realities, the relationship between computation and creativity, indeterminacy, and sort of some of these topics which are tackled by the film program here, by a lot of the installations here, and it just happens that in this particular moment you are one of the few scientists in this conversation, but we're also including other scientists in the conversation. The publication will be interdisciplinary in nature. So thank you for being for improvising this with us. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for inviting me.
No, it's a pleasure. Maybe you want to tell us what you do and where you come from, and
should I introduce myself?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That would be super.
So my name is Carla Richter, and right now I'm doing my PhD at the University of Vienna in the research group of Philipp Walter. So that's the research group that focus on quantum information, quantum computing, but actually it's a quite big group with several subgroups, and there I'm in the foundations team. I mean, like a little bit of everything, but also we have the privilege to do some experiment that go slightly more into like just finding a bit more out about the fundamentals of quantum mechanics, so quantum optics.
I just wanted to ask, what was your connection then with Civa? Just to also establish that, to understand how you came here and how you.
Actually, that was more out of the situation. I was asked by someone from the university if I would like to join and give a tour. I think I was the way it was explained to me was that that was something like a tradition, that they invite a scientist from the field that corresponds to the topic of the year. And so I was asked if I would like to do that. So I thought why not? Like, it sounded interesting. So, yeah.
No, just a reflection about how we presented you, saying you're one of the few scientists coming to this little stage. When I was in Italy, I was listening to Carlo talking about Italian education system and how we divided actually science from humanities, and for him it was like that was one of the problems, and also giving votes, and it was a long discussion. So I wanted to ask you how is what do you think of the education system here about science and humanities? Sorry if I didn't formulate it right.
With humanities, you mean like this, like I just need to find the English word for it. Like in German, we would say like liberal arts. Yeah, like so like. I would say in school, science is presented a little bit more. Sorry, I'm. I think if you have in biology, you actually learn biology. In math, you learn math. Even so, you learn calculating, I would say. But we already get like an idea of what the subject is. I think with the more free sociology or like this kind of topics of philosophy, at least how I grew up in Germany, that was, I would say, it was there, but it was minor of the time that we learned it. So I think in our society we are maybe right now focusing a little bit too much on that kind of knowledge. Like we know how to value that. Or I'm actually not sure if we know how to value that, because, if someone says, what is the value of education, then that person will tell you, usually, if you get the answer, that the value is that you can get a good job. But that's not the value of education. That's not the value of science, and also not of any other discipline, because I think the value of education is that you get some kind of idea of what the world is around you, how to think about it or whatever. And I think that is like the value that is not taught in school, at least not the way I was taught in school. I think that was a little bit a pity. I don't know if you had similar...
Well, I think that it would be much more fun to learn without getting the votes, because when you're discussing with a friend, you don't get votes, no? When you're like brainstorming ideas, there isn't someone telling you, okay, this is a 6, so this is a 4.
you mean like, yeah.
So I guess the experience could be a bit more fun in Italy, at least.
Yeah, no, I think that was the same. However, I'm a little bit like split, because first I had my own experience that this, like the marks I got didn't really reflect, it just reflected how much I studied. And however, if you would take it completely away, then it in some disciplines, especially I think in science, you need to learn to perform. Like you need to be able to. There's a lot of stress. There's like someone, like you need to be able to. Yeah, to deal with that stress, and in a way, I think that kind of mark system at least teaches you this, because I had the experience during when I was studying. I was also tutoring students, and I had some that went to schools that didn't have that kind of system, and I think that one value of that was that they had this kind of really free minds, and I think that's something super nice. On the other hand, when they then went to another school where they had that marking system, they were so stressed that they could not take it, even so I could see that they had the talent to do it. And I think so you kind of need both, and it's quite hard to kind of find the middle in between.
The balance.
Yeah.
Mm. I wanted to go back on the point of the kind of value of education, but also the value of different disciplines and different practices. And I'm wondering whether you had a chance to see the film program here. Or if you become familiar with the themes of the festival. I'm just curious to know what value do you expect or do you see in these cross-disciplinary conversations around quantum and in your research practice, and sort of in what way participating to a festival like this and seeing films that talk about quantum is kind of coming back to you and to your practice?
I've seen, unfortunately, only like a small part of the film that is shown in the cinema right now. And I mean, I've seen the works from the exhibition. I only arrived today in the morning, so I didn't have the time to see. However, I think it's, in a way, it's important for me that first, I think it's important that people outside of science start thinking about quantum physics, because it becomes more and more part of the technological reality that surrounds us. Like, of course, it's a slow process, and it's far away from being like the reality that is always advertised, but at one point it will. And I think it's important that everyone at least more or less understands what this is all about. Like, what is it, what can it do for us, what can it not do, maybe on the technological side, but also I think with that getting closer to us, we have the chance of maybe getting also outside of science like an idea how these principles that actually are part of our universe, even so we cannot see them in our everyday life, like not directly, even so they somehow belong to this world, how they work. And I think with this in art, it's opportunity to have like a very free stage to talk about it. They are not. When I was asked to give that tour and talk about the artworks, the first idea, of course, was like to talk about what is the quantum mechanics part of that work and of that work. And I think if we had done it this way, it wouldn't have made so much sense, because it's not it's not the task of the artwork to be scientifically correct. It can do actually way more than this, because it would be actually just teaching people something about science. So what it can do, for example, is mimicking some principles of thinking that it is unique maybe to quantum mechanics. So, and it can use that kind of principle and do something completely different with it that cannot be done with science. So like, I think that kind of having an idea of how these principles work and what we maybe how it can enhance the creativity, I think that's quite nice to see how this happens here.
Just a comment on what you're saying. I think it's also the power of fiction, no? The power of beauty, that it can go beyond what is right, what is wrong, our moral compass, our education, as we were saying. So sometimes the fiction has in a film or in the artworks that.
An artwork cannot be right, but it can. Yes, it has all the possibilities to kind of create something from these things that are part of the science. And I think from this I think that's the value by itself. Like this should be what art is, and not educating on science. That can be done by scientists or by books or by educators.
Having said that, I think that there is this is one of the possible also misconception that there is between the difference of the sort of artistic research and scientific research. I think it's a strong misconception to think that artistic research is a way of giving it oneself the license to be incorrect. I think many artists are actually striving for scientific accuracy in the way they explore scientific ideas, and they are very rigorous as much as scientists. And I don't think that the point of artists, the perspective of artists, is one of educating either. But I think that but what I think is interesting is what is the space of productive conversation and exchange that is being created through artistic research, through some of these works being exhibited here, but also making it back into the lab. And this is the area where I'm interested. Maybe we can explore this in a longer conversation later on, but the fundamental question that I would be curious to explore is, what place has this new form of, have these forms of image making can have in the lab? Are they coming back into the lab in some way, maybe mediated through you as the researchers selected to come and participate here? Or if you weren't here, would they make it back into the lab? In a way, I'm trying to understand the direction of travel of this knowledge, and it's not just about the scientific knowledge coming out of the lab, arriving into the artistic field, and then the artistic field using it to communicate and create artworks. But I'm wondering, how does that road backwards work?
I think it's a very hard question. I think you're aware of it. And I don't think I can give a definite answer on it. I have no idea how this impacts me right now. I think that's something like you cannot predict, and I cannot predict. And what I believe is that, and I think that is important, is that once that kind of thinking that comes with science, once it spreads through culture, it kind of arrives back at the beginning as well, like the way we think. And I do with us, I mean myself, but also like every member of the society. If you think about in the very beginning when clocks became more present and suddenly everything, even the human body, were symbolized as a clock. You have that kind of images from, I don't know, end of 19th century. Or you have then later the steam machines that kind of, and also again, pictures of the body and how humans see themselves. And then if you then go further and you see the internet, and suddenly if you now look around, everything is kind of web-shaped. The illustrations we have, but also the way maybe we think about stuff. I think, at least for me, I often image specific things like society as webs. And I wonder if that is like somehow back and forward mechanism of of the images that we get from like the World Wide Web, for example. And I'm actually interested myself what happens if now quantum mechanics arrives at that stage where it kind of shapes the way we observe things. And I guess that I sometimes wonder that myself, how did it change my way of thinking that I have learned about quantum mechanics, and I find it quite hard to say, but I find it very interesting to see what happens. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Amazing. Thank you so much. I think
Thank you very much.
If you like, we can continue. We will explain to you later how we carry on with the longer form. But this was super interesting and super helpful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
See you later.